Hey guys.
Oh,
Great start. Great start. What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 44 of Game Patrol, your weekly game talking shows, fun times,
it's going
extravaganza.
great.
Yeah,
You're doing great, man. You're
yeah.
doing great.
Thank you. I know my hair is crazy today. It's been one of those days, but if you're watching on YouTube, but I'm your host Landon Plumley as per usual, and joining me this week we got Justin Gephardt again. What's good, buddy?
Hello, happy to be back. Missed last week, but couldn't miss for too long. Had to
Exactly.
come back.
Always gotta come back. Come back to your gamer loves. It's a good
Oh
time.
yeah.
All right, we're gonna talk about a whole lot of really interesting stuff this week. First of all, the thing I really wanted to go in depth about is the 6 days in Fallujah situation. So, for those that don't know, unless you're really paying attention to the games industry, you probably don't know about this game. This is an upcoming game that is currently scheduled for Q3 of 2021, and it is basically a game covering the events of the Second Battle of Fallujah in the Iraq War, which happened. It would be 25, almost 26 years ago, I believe. That's literally math off the top of my head. It's 2004, but that's not 25. That's like 15. Never mind. Anyway, yeah, 2004.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, don't worry about it. Like I said, quick math, not my forte. But yeah, it's about that, and it's drawn a lot of controversy. So, for those that don't know, I'm going to give pretty much complete background on this game. I know a lot about this game. So, this was originally unveiled in 2009. It was being published by Konami, and it was the same thing. They had interviewed people who served in the Iraq War, U.S. Marines, and they were going to tell their stories. And everybody was like, absolutely not. This was 5 years ago, and there were war crimes in that battle, because one of the biggest things about the Second Battle of Fallujah, and the first as well, was it was one of the deadliest battles in urban combat. And the reason why urban combat is so tabooed in anywhere is because that almost always results in heavy civilian casualties. So you're not having soldiers dying. I mean, you are, but you're also having, like, for instance, in this battle, thousands of civilians killed in 6 days. And so it's a very controversial. It really, this was the point in which the United States really started pushing back, saying, why are we in this war? Like, the American civilians saying, like, why, we are causing all of the damage in this war. Why are we even a part of this? And so, yeah, it was a very controversial battle. And so, basically, this game was announced, and everybody lost their minds. And I think it was within a couple weeks. It was the parent company of Konami ordered the U.S. government to drop out of the project, and basically said, we don't want to be anywhere near this game. So they lost their publisher. And
Whew.
they searched around. They had talks with others, with other publishers, but ultimately no one wanted to touch it. And so it faded into non-existence. And then all of a sudden, just a couple months ago, it came back. One of the original developers on the game formed his own studio, and now he is contracting another development studio, which is formed of ex-Bungie developers, so people who worked on Halo and Destiny, and so they are working on this game for this company who's now publishing it. And so, yeah, it's been 11 years, almost 12 years since it was announced, but it's finally coming, and people are still upset. It's this is something very atrocious, and the way it was explained was also that this is not a political game. This is just here. This is just a game you play, and they also only had the perspectives of the U.S. Marines, which are generally thought to be the villains of that battle because of just all of the civilians killed, and so it is not something that should be celebrated. And so, yeah, this game drew a lot of controversy, and it's doing the same now. And so I bring to you all that background because it's a lot of bad. And I'll even go into, they released the first gameplay trailer just a few days ago, and someone who is Iraqi reacted to the video. I watched this on Twitter, and the first couple seconds you see someone, one of the enemy members, screaming Allahu Akbar, which is like the only Arabic phrase that America recognizes. And so of course that's all they have going on, just people randomly shouting Allahu Akbar. And it's also procedurally generated. So basically they wanted to make each experience, like if you were to infiltrate a house and get gunned down and you respawned, you would know exactly what to expect. So instead of doing that, everything is procedurally generated, so you never know what to expect. And so this guy took that as, oh, so all the civilians that died are so inconsequential that they can just be procedurally generated like a roguelite. War crimes are now a roguelite. Okay, cool. And just completely ran through this gameplay trailer and saying it was just very much against the Iraqi image, even though towards the end, which is like 98% of the way through the video, no mention. And then finally we see, because this has now converted into more of a documentarial video game, so at its core it's a tactical shooter, but then it also, similar to what some other games have done, it has live action cutscenes put into it that are interviews with people who were there. And so, but towards the end, we finally find out that there are some Iraqi consultants, but as the Iraqi reactor pointed out, the only thing that they said, at least in this trailer, is basically like, yeah, we were too stubborn to leave, so we were here. Like, look at us stubborn Iraqi men. And so it was just not the best portrayal right off the bat. And that's the only thing we got about that. And so, to be fair, everything marketing-wise about this game is eesh. I'm curious, because I asked you before we started, Justin, if you had heard about this game. And so what do you make of all of this, Justin?
Oh, man. I mean, I don't think it's that good of an idea. I mean, just because, like, not the whole not telling stories, like, I think that's a good idea. I think knowing what was going on from the civilians is a great idea. But doing it through a video game where you play as the guy behind the gun, making what was an actual war, what destroyed some actual people's homes, into a game, mm-hmm. I think it's just inappropriate. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's right. But I mean, I guess that's my thoughts on it. I mean, we already have Call of Duty and all of those games that give you that real life war experience. Like, mm-hmm. why do you need to actually bring a war to life? Like, mm-hmm. I don't, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's essentially what pretty much everybody is echoing. Some going so far as to boycott the game. Like, this has gotten a severely negative reaction. So I didn't keep up too much with all of the stuff going on when it first got announced. I heard about it. I was like, oh, okay. Doesn't seem like my kind of game anyway. It's just like, whatever. And then I watched an interview. So for those that don't know, IGN has an Unfiltered series where they, before the pandemic, would sit down with developers, drink beer, and just, talk about their careers. But then the pandemic hit, so, the alcohol is no longer involved because it's remote and all of this stuff. But Ryan McCaffrey will just sit down with different game developers and, interview them. And his newest one, which just went up a few days ago, I heavily recommend you look it up and watch it, because I'll be talking about a lot of this stuff here, but there's a lot of really interesting information about the game. But he interviewed the developers of this game. He interviewed the CEO of the company publishing the game, who originally, he had the rights to this game. It was his game. And then the chief creative officer that's working on the game, who has worked on Halo 1 through 3. But I don't remember their names off the top of my head, so apologies for that. But Ryan McCaffrey interviewed them, and it kind of changed my mind about this game. I don't want to say for
Really?
100% certainty, but there's a lot of really interesting things because I think in a one-word summary, that entire interview, it's just context. And so, again, heavily recommend you watch the entire interview, but basically the chief creative officer, he has this whole like journey of getting to work on this game, and it started all the way back in Halo 3. So basically, when they were working on Halo 3 at the time, they went on a business trip to actually go with the U.S. Marines deployed in Iraq, just to like research, essentially like field research. So they would go, and they found out, like when he was there, he found out that all these soldiers are playing Halo. Like, they're going out, like, fighting this war, coming back, like, doing who knows what, coming back, and then playing this first-person shooter video game that somebody over in America made. Like, that's what they do. That was how they spent their free time. And they told him, they're like, yeah, this is really fun, but this is nothing like what real combat is. Like, this is, like, it's not... There's nothing accurate about this. But we love it. You know, it's a video game. But, you know, compared to real combat, it's very different. And he was thinking about that, and that like resonated with him so much that after Halo 3, he left Bungie. Like, he didn't want to work on Halo anymore. And then fast forward, he just kind of like was kind of, you know, doing other kinds of projects and just kind of stayed away from shooters because he realized that, you know, the Call of Duties and Battlefields and Halos and all these other shooters, they aren't what combat's really like, and they've gotten much more realistic over the years, but they're not, you know, it's glorified and it's very, very different from what it actually is. And so he stayed away from shooters. And then the owner of the game approached him in his development studio, which is mostly former Bungie devs. I believe it's Hazelight is their name, but something like that. But they approached him with this game, and at first he was like, no, I don't want to do that because of the shooters and all of that. And he said, well, we have a ton of interview footage. So he looked, and they had like a ton of documentary footage of all these interviews with the U.S. Marines. And there's just a bunch of stories that don't get told because, you know, of all the atrocities that happened in the war and, you know, everything. Like, people tend to not talk about what's going on in Iraq and what has been going on. I mean, it's the forever war. But these stories aren't getting told because of that, and he wanted to tell them. So he said, okay. But then they're like, okay, so there's some holes. So that's when they went and they interviewed Iraqi people because they're like, we don't know the whole story. And so they kind of walked back on the statement that this game isn't political, because they basically dropped the whole, like, you know, everything is political. You know, obviously, like, we know about the war crimes. And they just, they beat around the bush a little bit with it. And that's why I'm, like, not 100% convinced. But also, like, they wanted to display the context of what's going on there. So it's not like run and gun, bullet sponge, all that sort of thing. It's all about tactics and, you know, like I said, with the procedurally generated stuff, they said that they want the player to feel the way that soldier did going into this house, knowing absolutely nothing about what's going to be in wait for him, should it be like a machine gun to the face or something like that. And then once you do that, you will then see the documentary, see the person you are playing as, describe the experience for him, and you'll have just like an inkling of what it felt like. Like, obviously you didn't go through that exact same experience, but they're trying to help the player empathize with these soldiers and in their stories told. And I think that's a really, really interesting thing.
That is interesting.
But again, I still think all of the criticisms are very valid, because I don't want to say that this won't necessarily have, you know, the Iraqi side of things, and it won't portray it more gently, but it hasn't given me any indication that it is or isn't so far. And so you would think with all of the negative marketing, if they had put it in, they would have clarified that, and that's why I'm just so confused, because they continue to just kind of hide away the contents of this game. It's almost
Yeah.
like they're trying to thrive off of the controversy, which is a genuine thing you could do because a lot more people are talking about this game because of the controversy.
No
So,
such thing as bad publicity.
exactly. So, I don't know if that's what they're going for or if, it genuinely will be very insensitive to the Iraqi people.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. I'm very curious, but again, if you watch the whole interview, these people are passionate about telling these stories. And this is something that they are being very respectful about. And they seem to, just have a genuine passion for it. It's not like, because I've watched some indie game streams where, some of these developers, like, it's kind of like their day job, like they just clearly aren't. But then on the other hand, you can tell when a developer is working on something that they are passionate about, that they are putting all of their energy into. And that is these guys. And so it's like, it's not to say that it can't be bad, but like you don't want it to be after seeing that. And so it's completely polarized my perception of this game. And so, again, I would really recommend to anyone to go watch that interview. Like I said, it's IGN Unfiltered. It's the newest one. But, yeah, it's really, really good. And it's really interesting. And so, going on a more broad scale then, war in video games, because a lot of stuff about this is that, it's imitating a battle that actually happened. And while I think there is a degree of fictionalization in some of these games, that's Call of Duty World War II. That's what they did. The first 3 Call of Duty games, that's what they did. Cold War, you have World at War, you have all these other... They're based off of real life wars, and while, at least to my knowledge, I don't think they have 100% like simulated actual battles, just more so creating stories within this war, it's still doing that. I think...
I mean,
and this... Good.
When you were first like talking about it, I was like, I wonder if there's any other game developer who's kind of attempted to make a realistic war game. I know it's not really modern era, but there's I remember a couple years ago, Battle of Verdun, which like prided themselves on recreating the actual Battle of Verdun.
They just announced the sequel.
That was a realistic creation of. Well, a somewhat realistic creation of, a real-life war that happened. It was just a lot longer ago.
Yeah. And it has happened. There have been games. There was one game back in, I think, the 90s. I forget what it's called, but they mentioned it in the interview, that it was originally a training simulator for the U.S. Army. And then the developers took that and developed it into a full video game. So it is a tactical shooter that is meant to accurately portray real life combat situations. And so, there was that. But, Call of Duty has actually technically been in a little bit of controversy for this. It's because the Modern Warfare trilogy. Very anti-Russian. And so they've gotten into some trouble more recently here. Like, people started questioning it in the Modern Warfare reboot. Because I would go so far as to say the reboot doesn't quite antagonize the Russians as much as the original trilogy did. I still think it does, but not on a larger scale that the old ones did. But it's kind of like, I think in this time where we're pointing out things that aren't okay, we've gotten a lot more vocal about it. I think it's coming up now, and then those older ones are resurfacing. But yeah, I've heard some people really dragging COD for their Russian representation. So it has happened before. But, COD's a $1 billion franchise. This is just some indie game trying to be made.
Yeah.
And so it says a lot about what is allowed and what can be allowed and who can do what. But, yeah. I'm honestly just kind of curious. Like, this is where I am glad that... I mean, I'm glad a lot, but this is one of the main reasons I'm glad for... games media coverage for game reviewers, because I'm curious to see what this is like. I don't necessarily know if I should commit money into purchasing this. Like, is this a project I should support? But hearing what people have to say about it, I can then make a more informed decision because of it. So, yeah. But it's coming out later this year. We'll see how that goes. But anyway, let's move into the gaming news, because we've got a bunch of cool news this week that I'm excited to talk about. Some stuff that's not very cool, but we'll get into all of that. So, first up, we're getting another Resident Evil showcase next month. So, they didn't give a specific date, but they said we were getting another video showcase coming in April, so sometime next month. And I can pretty much guarantee that this is going to launch a Resident Evil Village demo, because that's what they did last time. In the last showcase, they released a maiden demo specifically just for PS5, and then in that showcase they said there is going to be a second demo available for all consoles that will be different. And so I guarantee that demo is coming in this April showcase. So, especially since Village comes out in May, so there's not much time after that to release the demo. So, this is when it's coming. But yeah, we'll get some more information probably about Resident Evil Village, maybe some other 25th anniversary celebration stuff, as they just celebrated their 25th anniversary on Monday. Monday. So very recently, Resident Evil just turned 25. Yes. We're very excited. So yeah, we might get some more information about the movie, maybe the first trailer, because it comes out in September. And, you know, the Netflix stuff that's going on. There's plenty of Resident Evil content. Maybe we'll finally get the Resident Evil 4 remake announcement. Who knows? I'm currently playing through Code Veronica, and boy, I want them to remake it so bad. It sounds like they're just going to skip it. They don't see the value in it, but man, that game needs a remake, because it's really good. It has some really cool moments in it that, like, I feel like Resident Evil 4 took a lot out of. Like, this is when Resident Evil starts to get really wacky and just have some, like, batshit crazy characters. And, you know, Resident Evil 4 was like the one that everybody was talking about, like, that started that. But it really started with Code Veronica. And it's technically a mainline entry. Like, it's not a spin-off. It is the technical fourth Resident Evil game. But they just gave it essentially what happened there, and I'm going off on a tangent, so this is the last thing I'm going to say about it. But they had a contract with Sony that all of the numbered mainline Resident Evil games would come to PlayStation, and for some reason they really wanted to make a game for the Dreamcast, so it was still a mainline entry. They considered it to be a mainline entry, they just didn't put a number on it. So that's why it's not Resident Evil 4. It's really interesting. So it technically is. They just didn't have the name because they wanted to go past that agreement they had with Sony at the time.
Yeah.
It eventually came to the PS2, but yeah. It was originally a Dreamcast exclusive. But
I really want to get in. I keep telling myself I'm going to get into the Resident Evil games, and then I just never get around to it.
They're so good. They are fantastic. Yeah. Like I said, Resident Evil Village, my most anticipated game. Let's talk about another of my anticipated games, because it just got murdered. Or not murdered, but beat up and chewed out and spat into 2022. Gotham Knights has been delayed, everybody. I'm not happy. I'm not happy. Okay. You know, I don't consider game delays to be a bad thing, because that just means more time for them to perfect it, so I shouldn't be sad. But as someone who is excited for this game, I am sad. But let me read this quote from you guys. So they said, "We are giving the game more time to deliver the best possible experience for players. Thank you to our amazing fans for your tremendous support of Gotham Knights. We look forward to showcasing more of the game in the coming months." So, yeah. Short and sweet. Yeah, people are saddened, but I am still excited. It's, you know, it sucks because when I was first thinking of my most anticipated list, I was like, Gotham Knights, God of War Ragnarok. And I was like, well, God of War Ragnarok probably isn't coming this year. It's probably going to get delayed. And, you know, Gotham Knights got delayed. And, again, I'll cut off my toes if God of War Ragnarok comes this year. I cannot believe that it's coming this year. You know,
I want it so badly to come this year.
Me too. It is definitely my most anticipated game, no doubt. I just don't think it's coming this year, because we've seen nothing from it. Absolutely nothing.
We got like one little teaser a few months ago.
That's it. We got a
That was
CGI
it. And then we had,
cinematic reveal thing. That wasn't
yeah.
cinematic. It was just a logo thing.
Is it?
Yep.
Yeah, that was it.
That was it. That's all we got. And like people have been nagging Cory Barlog on Twitter, and he's basically
I
like
know.
when it's he's basically just saying when it's ready. And so I don't think it's anywhere near ready. That's the thing.
Yeah.
But yeah. So Gotham Knights got pushed back. God of War I think is going to get pushed back. There we go. Now, moving on, there was a live stream this past week. Square Enix Presents Spring 2021. So let's talk about all of this big stuff that got announced there. So Project Athia, a game that had a lot of people's interest back at the PS5 showcase, got a trailer and is now officially called Forspoken. So this was the biggest news, the news that everybody got buzzing about. It's coming in 2022, and it features an ordinary woman thrust into a beautiful yet cruel world. So we don't know very much about it, but there are dragons. We know that. And the movement looks wacky. But yeah, so we know very little about it, but it has big AAA value for sure. This is not a little indie game. It's definitely a high-budget project, but it's coming next year, called Forspoken. We got a little look at it. Also, Marvel's Avengers is out now on the PS5 and Xbox Series X. It got the upgrade. I've actually been playing it, and I'll talk a little bit about that when we get to our off-hour section. But they also announced a Black Panther expansion coming this summer. So I'm really excited for it. It's called War for Wakanda. It's going to bring in Claw, and yeah, I'm excited. The suit looks good.
Is Avengers worth it? I mean, I'm being told, I'm seeing everywhere, it's not good. It's not what everybody hoped it would be.
Yeah. So
I've been seeing on your Twitter, you're playing it a lot.
Yeah. So I essentially give some background into this. I played Spider-Man Miles Morales to completion. I platinumed it, and then I went from there into Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered, and I platinumed that and all of the DLCs and all of that. And so I just was playing superhero games just a little bit all the time regularly for a while, like trying to platinum both of those games and all of their respective DLCs. And so I was like, I kind of want to keep playing superhero games. Like, what should I do now? And it was when I was trying to think of that, you know, this past week, the Avengers Next Gen dropped. And I was like, you know, I'd like to play it on PS5. That sounds like interesting. And, you know, I can just, like, play it a little bit every day. And that can kind of be my, you know, my next superhero game and try to work towards that. Maybe I'll platinum it. Maybe I won't. Just kind of have fun with it. Because I played a few hours when it first came out. But I didn't get very far, and I just fell off. And so I got back into it, and I am no expert. I am about 35-ish% of the way through the campaign, so I am not going to give you like the definitive answer, but based on all the stuff I've heard from other people, discussions I've had, and the semi-medium chunk I've played thus far, essentially, Avengers has a really strong foundation, but it just has no substance to it, I guess you could say. So the campaign is really, really good. It's made, if you don't know, like, Avengers is developed by Crystal Dynamics, aka the people who made the first two Tomb Raider reboots, the 2013 and then Rise of the Tomb Raider. So they're really good at story and, you know, the single-player action adventure type experiences. So the campaign is really, really good. Kamala Khan is absolutely wonderful. And yeah, I love the way they handle the story in the game. I think it's really good. It's the post-game stuff that fumbles. So essentially, Avengers is Square Enix's attempt to make Destiny and to have that live service game that will entice people to keep going. But essentially, the post-game content is just fighting a bunch of robots with slightly different conditions and doing the same thing over and over again. And it's really repetitive and grindy just to get some loot. And there's not a ton of story content. You would think with the Avengers, they're, you know, they have all these famous villains they could use, and there's only like 3 total. There's not a whole lot of notable villains, which is exciting because of the Claw thing. We're getting, you know, another villain added, but this is like the 5th villain we've had in Avengers, where in most superhero games, you know, you have most of the rogue gallery in there. And I know because this is a live service game, they 100% did that so that they could have them for DLC.
Yeah.
In their defense, all of this DLC is free. They don't have a season pass. So we've gotten the Kate Bishop expansion and the Hawkeye expansion completely free. So, they're not charging people for it. They only make money through the microtransactions and then just actual sales of the game. Which microtransactions are just cosmetics, so there's nothing to fear about, paying to win. And, they're continuing to add content and build on it. And so I think eventually Avengers is going to be an amazing game. It just is so held back by the live service aspect of it. And I just wish it wasn't there. I've tried to get into live service before. I think it's interesting. I think Avengers is going to be the game that I'm going to try my hardest to get into as a live service game because it is a superhero thing, and I know I'm going to be biased towards it. Like, I know my opinion of Avengers is and will be higher than the majority because I have a bias towards superhero content. I mean, I've grown up on it. It's what I love. So I know I'm going to enjoy it at least somewhat. But, yeah, it just doesn't have that end game content. It gets super repetitive. There's not a lot of variety. Yeah, so the foundation is really strong, and I think they're eventually going to get there. They're a big studio. Yes, this is their first live service game, but they've hired a lot of talent, and, they'll learn as they go. And I think this could be a redemption like No Man's Sky or something like that, as long as Square Enix just doesn't pull the plug. As long as they stick with it, I think Avengers can be really strong. It's just whether or not they want to do that.
Don't pull an Anthem.
Don't pull an Anthem. I was very sad about that, but we're not going to get into that.
yeah, we're already way off on a tangent.
Yeah, we've had a lot of tangents, but Anyway, so next up on the docket, an Xbox showcase has been announced that is entirely focusing on indies. Specifically, over 100 games are being showcased. So it is actually tomorrow, Friday, March 26th at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern, and it's going to be hosted exclusively on Twitch. So yeah, we've got over 100 games from indie developers like Devolver, Drinkbox, Curve Digital, and then a bunch of other stuff. They also mentioned that Stalker 2, Second Extinction, The Ascent, The Wild at Heart, Void Train, and XO1 would be among the games shown. So maybe we'll get a Stalker 2 release date, because it's supposed to hit this year. I know that's one that Xbox people are super excited about because it is an Xbox exclusive, which with it's an indie game, but it has like that AAA quality, like the polish. So yeah, I'll be very interested to hear the new updates about that game. But yeah, that's tomorrow. I am gonna be working during it, so I'll probably miss it live, but I will be watching. Then finally, we've got the new controllers revealed for PlayStation VR 2, or whatever they end up calling it, because they haven't technically called it the PSVR 2 yet. But yeah, we got these things. They are, as I've heard them called, hongs. They're basically hand thongs. That's what they look like. But yeah. Yeah, so those are the new controllers, but they're very reminiscent of the Valve Index controllers, if you've seen those. They're basically built around giving you the comfortability, kind of shaping it like something you would grip and you could use your fingers. They have technology in there similar to what the Oculus and the Valve Index are doing now, where it can sense where your fingers are, not just, the ones holding the triggers and the analog stick, which, again, there's an analog stick now, finally, because those Move controllers suck. So I'm just happy it has analog sticks. That's really all I care about. I saw the analog sticks and I was like, okay, I'm sold, because the Move controllers are such bad VR really controllers. Nice. Yeah. So I'm very happy that I can at least have my analog stick. But yeah, they look cool. I'll still refer to them as the hongs, but yeah, that's
a great name.
Yeah, but
that's a great name.
Yeah, so that's the gaming news this week. Now moving on to the games coming this week, because we have a ton. I was looking up all these games. I was like, oh my gosh, we've got a ton of big games. We've got some small, interesting games, and, everything in between. I'm very excited to talk about all these. So today, you can pick up Yakuza 6, The Song of Life for Xbox One and PC. How far will you go for family? 3 years after the events of Yakuza 5, Kazumi Kiryu The Dragon of Dojima returns in Yakuza 6 The Song of Life with the dream of living a quiet life. Upon his arrival, he discovers Haruka has been involved in an accident and has slipped into a coma, leaving her young son Haruto without care. To protect this child, Kiryu takes Haruto to the last place Haruka was spotted, Onomichi, Hiroshima. There, a new and merciless world of Yakuza awaits the unlikely pair. Who is Haruto's father, and why are the Tojo clan and Yomei alliance both after him? With some unlikely friends, Kiryu will have to navigate through the criminal underworld he left behind and fight for the answers to keep the family he loves safe. So, long-winded little plot synopsis there, but that's the Yakuza games for you. They're really, really good, and with that, every single Yakuza game is on Xbox now. So, woot woot, no longer PlayStation exclusive. But yeah, so they're all on there now. You can play them. They're all on Game Pass, save for Like a Dragon, but you can play all of the Kiryu games on Xbox now for free with Game Pass. Also today, we've got Evil Inside for PS5, PS4, and PC. Evil Inside is a first-person psychological horror game. After the death of his mother and the arrest of his father for it, Mark decides to contact her using the spiritual board. But it fades away, and here is when all begins. Mark will face his greatest fears to discover the truth. So, this is a nice little indie horror game. It looks alright. If you are a big horror junkie, I would definitely recommend looking this one up. But yeah. Also, today, again, we got a ton of games, guys. Crash Bandicoot on the Run for iOS and Android. Think fast to keep Crash and Coco running, jumping, spinning, and smashing in lanes loaded with obstacles. Speed through mysterious lands, defeating the henchmen of Dr. Neo Cortex. Swipe to explore wild and exotic locations. Customize Crash and Coco with insane skins. Build an arsenal of stupendous weapons and hone those running skills for rewards. Get ready for the run of a lifetime. So yeah, this is the mobile Crash game that mobile gamers are excited about. But I don't play mobile games, so good for you, I guess.
Neither do I.
You can enjoy your Temple Run reskin.
That's all I thought the whole time you were reading that. I was like, this sounds like many other games that are already on the phone.
Yeah. Enjoy your Crash Temple Run. But yeah, so then tomorrow we've got Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 for PS5 and Xbox Series X. Next-gen versions are dropping, boys. Drop back in with the most iconic skateboarding games ever made. Play the fully remastered Tony Hawk's Pro Skater and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 games in one epic collection, rebuilt from the ground up in incredible HD. So, yeah, I'm excited to see the updates because I think, technically speaking, the last-gen versions of Pro Skater ran really, really well, so I'm curious to see what more juice they'll give it for these new consoles. But yeah, that's exciting. It's coming out tomorrow. I'll probably end up checking it out. We'll see. Probably not immediately, but down the line. But also tomorrow we've got Space-Based Startopia for PS5, Xbox Series S and X, PS4, Xbox One, and PC. Space-Based Startopia captivates with its original mixture of economic simulation and empire-building strategy, paired with classic RTS skirmishes and a good dose of humor. So, if you're into RTSs with like a 90s computer game aesthetic almost, the graphics are good looking, but the cartoons sorry, excuse me, they remind me of like what happened to Carmen Sandiego type of things, just less pixely, if that makes any sense. So the art style looks interesting, but yeah, if you're into RTS games, coming out tomorrow. Also tomorrow, still not MLB, it's Out of the Park Baseball 22 for PC.
Oh man.
Play what the pros play. Officially licensed by MLB, MILB, and the MLBPA, Out of the Park Baseball 22 is the newest in the award-winning strategy series. Fun, authenticity, and depth make it a sports fan's dream come true, and the only game ever to win Metacritic PC Game of the Year award twice. So, I would say that Out of the Park Baseball is the PES to FIFA as, this and MLB, right? So I think FIFA and MLB are the juggernauts, and then PES and Out of the Park are, they're offshoots that also, usually are very good. It's just they're not the big kahunas.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if you're a big baseball fan and you play on PC, there you go. Then tomorrow, we've got one I'm very excited for and will likely be picking up, Monster Hunter Rise for Nintendo Switch. Set in the ninja-inspired land of Kamura Village, explore lush ecosystems and battle fearsome monsters to become the ultimate hunter. It's been half a century since the last calamity struck, but a terrifying new monster has reared its head and threatens to plunge the land into chaos once again. Hunt solo or in a party with friends to earn rewards that you can use to craft a huge variety of weapons and armor. Brand new gameplay systems such as the high-flying wire action and your canine companion Palamute will add exciting new layers, the already robust combat that Monster Hunter is known for. And so, yeah, I'm really excited. The reviews came out. They're really, really great. I'm very, very interested in checking this out. Have you ever played a Monster Hunter game, Justin?
Yes. I had the last one, Monster Hunter World.
Gotcha.
I don't even know if I still have it, but I played quite a bit of it when it first came out. I actually really enjoyed it. But see, now I know in the last one, all the companions were cats. It looks like it's going to be dogs in this one.
So it's actually going to be both. Yeah, Palicos have been a trend throughout the entirety of the Monster Hunter franchise.
Yeah, I knew that. Yeah.
But yeah, now we're getting the canine companion as well, which like they get big. Like I saw some gameplay and like you can basically have like a dire wolf, and it's like you can like ride him. And
that makes me. That's got me interested, though. I haven't really heard much. I haven't looked much into that, but that actually really has me interested.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a really great game. It's out tomorrow. Also tomorrow, Kays and the Wild Masks for PS4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, PC, and Google Stadia. Go on a journey as Kays in this 90s classics-inspired platformer. When the Crystal Islands get cursed, Kays needs to save her friend Hogo while facing enraged living vegetables. Find the Wild Masks to unleash the powers of the legendary guardians and master land, sky, and sea. So this is another indie platformer that I think indie developers are doing some really good things in the platformer space. I've been checking out some indie games recently, some demos and stuff that have dropped on Steam, and there's this one that I was playing, Aeon Drive, that is essentially a speedrun focused platformer, and I thought it was doing some really cool things, and I enjoyed playing that. Yeah, that's coming soon. And yeah, I just think indie games have been doing some cool stuff with platformers, so if you are a big platformer fan, I would check this one out. And then also tomorrow, It Takes Two for PS5, Xbox Series X, PS4, Xbox One, and PC. Embark on the craziest journey of your life in It Takes Two. Invite a friend to join for free with Friends Pass and work together across a huge variety of gleefully disruptive gameplay challenges. So this is the next game from a Way Out developer. Josef Fares is a one-of-a-kind man, and he's created another co-op-only game that has also been reviewing super, super well. So excited to check that out tomorrow. And then
extremely excited.
Also tomorrow, we've got Balan Wonderworld for PS5, Xbox Series X, PS4, Nintendo Switch, and PC. Welcome to Balan Wonderworld, a wondrous all-action show, the likes of which has never been seen before. Over 80 different costumes give you all the action that you could possibly imagine. This game to me seems like a mix of Sackboy and I don't know, maybe something like Banjo-Kazooie. It's very interesting. It has a very cartoony art style. It has like the grandeur of like Super Mario 3D World. Like it just seems like one big party, and it's really interesting. And so I'm curious to hear how that goes, because it looks like a very interesting game. But that is out tomorrow. Another Square Enix game. And then also, Doom 3 VR Edition is coming out on PS4 on Monday. Doom 3 VR Edition features Doom 3 and its expansions, Resurrection of Evil and The Lost Mission, retooled for PSVR technology. Uncover the secrets of the UAC's unholy experiments, encounter uncanny monstrosities in claustrophobic environments, and wield an arsenal of iconic and even otherworldly weaponry with new textures, shaders, and sound effects as you survive against the forces of hell across over 15 hours of heart-stopping action. So, this was just revealed here recently, and it's now finally coming out. Not finally, it was pretty quick, but yeah, this was started out as a PC mod. It's not the same people, but essentially someone modded Doom 3 to be in VR and had been working on it, and then it got shut down, and that was just kind of the end of Doom 3 VR, and then all of a sudden it's here, and it's not even on PC VR, it's exclusively for PlayStation VR, and it looks really interesting because it's got like the whole, it utilizes the VR controllers in interesting ways, and it looks like it's a genuine VR game versus a regular game that they just kind of slap some VR stuff on. And so I'm very curious to check this one out.
Nice.
Yeah. Then also on Tuesday, Disco Elysium: The Final Cut for PS5, PS4, PC, and Google Stadia. And this is one that every single one of you are going to purchase because it's one of the best games ever made. Disco Elysium: The Final Cut is the definitive edition of the smash hit RPG. Pursue your political dreams in new vision quests, meet and question more of the city's locals, and explore a whole extra area. Also enjoy full voice acting, controller support, and expanded language options. So, I released a video earlier this month about the top 25 modern PC games, basically the best games that have released on PC within the last 10 years. And I believe I put Disco Elysium at number like 7, somewhere around there.
Wow.
It is an absolutely phenomenal RPG that is essentially like, it's got some Dungeons and Dragons elements in it, but you're a detective that is literally going insane. So you will have like full-on conversations with your head that will influence how your character behaves, such as if he gets a nicotine addiction or if he just blows his brains out randomly in the middle of the game. It's completely dependent on how you answer questions and make decisions throughout the game. And it is absolutely phenomenal. It won Best Indie Game of the Year at the Game Awards in 2019.
I remember that, yeah.
So, yes, pick this up. It's finally coming to some consoles. It's coming to Switch. I don't remember if it's coming to Xbox or not. Maybe. I think it is. Yeah, I think it's coming to Xbox and Switch later this year. But it's on PlayStation and Google Stadia Tuesday. And also, if you own the original version of Disco Elysium, you will be upgraded to the Final Cut for free. So, I am immediately jumping into that.
Oh.
But yeah, so that's coming out on Tuesday.
Very cool.
Yeah, 100%. Go get it. Also on Tuesday, okay. Evil Genius 2 World Domination is coming out on PC. A satirical spy-fi layer builder where you are the criminal mastermind. Construct your base, train your minions, defend your operations from the forces of justice, and achieve global domination. So, this looks like a cool spoof on like the city builder genre. Like you're building up an evil base to try and take over the world. So I think it's really cool. It's really interesting. I like the creativity of it. Definitely check it out if you're into like, again, like those city building types video games. And then finally on Tuesday, this is the 14th game of the week. We've got Narita Boy for PS4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, and PC. Become symphonic in Narita Boy, a radical action adventure as a legendary pixel hero trapped as a mere echo within the digital kingdom. Discover the mysteries behind the Techno Sword, lock swords with the corrupt and tainted stallions, save the world. So this looks really, really cool. It's a, like I said, it's a pixel art game, so it kind of looks like a more realistic take on Shovel Knight, and I say that like with an asterisk because it's still pixel art, but like I would say it's like what Shovel Knight was for platformers, this is for Castlevania. I would say it's like a pixel art 2021 Castlevania game, I would say. It looks really cool. It's got some cyberpunk elements to it, like I said, with the digital kingdom and the techno sword and stuff like that. So I think it's got a lot of originality to it. And yeah, the pixel art looks really good. So if that's doing anything for any of y'all, go check it out, Narita Boy. And so, yeah, those are all the games, finally. Like I said, a lot coming out this week, and we've got some really cool stuff coming out next week, too. So yeah, exciting stuff. Now, as for off hours, I've been doing a lot. I've been very busy, but I've also found some time to do some other things. Like I mentioned, I've been playing Marvel's Avengers. I'm about, like I said, like 35% through the campaign. I've been playing just like a little bit every day. Have I played today? I don't think I have. All right, I'm gonna have to do that later.
I have to go right now.
I completely forgot. So yeah,
in the podcast right now. Go.
Yeah. Live gameplay of Panamaster Landon Plumley playing some Marvel's Avengers.
I'd watch it.
Yeah, I've thought about streaming it, honestly, but Yeah, so I've been playing a little bit of that every day. I also got back into Dead by Daylight. I played that on PlayStation 5 because they came out with the next gen version when the system launched. And yeah, I had a lot of fun. That game is so fun. It's such an underrated game. If you are into like co-op multiplayer games, like you gotta. I think Dead by Daylight is really cool too because it's a 4v1, meaning if you've got buddies with you, you guys can have a fun time as survivors trying to evade the killer. If all your friends are busy, you can be the killer and just have a fun time murdering people. And I mean that because it is so much fun. Like, I think the killer is such a difficult character to, I guess, describe your feelings for because it's the best feeling in the game when you win as the killer. Like, it is so satisfying and you're just like, yes, it is the best thing in the game.
But then murdered 4 people.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the best feeling is when they try and cheese you because like the upper players, they know how to like juke the killer and do all this other stuff. And so when they try to like really like rub it in your face and then you end up murdering them, that's the best feeling in the world. Like sometimes if like the survivors will just be messing with me all game and I know that at least some of them are going to get away, I'll just start being a dick. Like I will hook someone and I will stand right there and I will slash at them and I'll be like, you did this to yourself. You're going down. Maybe they'll leave. Maybe they will. Maybe all 3 of them will get out of there. But you right here, because you disrespected me, you're dying.
You are staying right here with me. Your friends, they're free to go. You are stuck.
They're free to come. I'll just slash and hack at them right here. I am puppy guarding your ass. I will do that if they really try to get smart with me. But yeah, I've played
that. I played Dead by Daylight a little before, and I remember being very terrified as one of the campers or whatever, and very frustrated as the bad guy. So but I had fun. I was just either terrified or frustrated.
Well, the game has made a lot of changes. It started out when it launched, it was okay, and then balancing issues was the primary issue. And so now they have completely overhauled the rank system, so you are put with people of your skill level. So you're not going to be decimated by some killer or, have survivors that are way, way better than you. And so that was the main problem with the game, was the matchmaking. And then they also have made plenty of other small improvements that have went a long way. So it's really a different game. So even if you guys have played Dead by Daylight, but it's been a while, I would highly suggest jumping back in because it's a very different game now, and it's so much fun. But yeah, so I've been playing that.
Try it again.
Yeah. I watched the first episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier. That was a great start. I'm really excited for the next one. I thought it was done really well. And I also watched the Snyder Cut, because of course I watched the Snyder Cut. So everybody loves this. Like, everybody is, like, shouting praise. Like, even people who hated on it were like, oh, this is actually really good. I'm somewhere in the middle. I would give it, like, a 7 out of 10. Like, I thought it was good. I just think it was way too long. Like, they could have shaved off a half an hour. It would still be a 3.5 hour movie, so it would still be a very long movie. But they could have shaved half an hour of footage because everything is just so drug out. And there are some really cool moments, and I think this is easily the definitive edition of the Justice League. I just don't think it's the best it could have possibly been, because essentially Zack Snyder, when he said, they're letting me do a director's cut, all right, I'm cutting nothing. Everything's going in there. Everything. If one of the castmates had to take a break and take a shit, then we would film that too, and that's going in there. We're never cutting. Never cutting. It's all one shot, and we're gonna have 28 minutes of slow motion. Someone calculated it. Oh no,
I saw that.
24 minutes 10%. And 7 seconds.
10% of the entire movie
was in slow motion.
Slow-mo.
10% of 4 hours.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of slow motion in there, but I thought it was good. There were definitely some enjoyable moments, but I'm not like, now I am with the Restore the Snyderverse movement now, because I would like to see where he goes with it, and I'm very interested. I think there's some lessons to be learned here that he could take and utilize in the sequels. So I want to see that, but I'm also like, I'm chill. Like, I'm not gonna be like, oh my gosh, we need it. He is God. Because Zack Snyder does kind of think he's God, and I think he needs a little bit of an ego dampening. But I'm happy for him to have released his I don't know, his Magna Carta or whatever. But yeah. So anyway, Justin, what have you been consuming? Tell me. Tell me what you've done.
All right. Well, I'm a little ashamed of this one.
It
started off as a joke. I've been playing a lot, probably unhealthy amount, which is probably any amount of Fortnite. Oof. I know.
The audacity.
So it started as a joke. My old roommate, we're on the same team, and our coach got a Switch, and like he didn't have any games, so he just downloaded Fortnite because it was free. And we gave him crap about it. We were picking on him. We were like, "Oh, you're playing Fortnite? Like, wow, like play something good." We were just picking on him about it, and he was like, "Hey, like if you guys had it, we could all play together." And we were like, "Oh, that actually was fun," because we love our coach. And me and my roommate, our old roommate, we like start off as a joke, like, we're not gonna play it. Like, why would we play it? But we've been looking for something new to play together because I moved out, so like we talk the most now playing video games. Like we need something new to try together, and so we both downloaded Fortnite, and we're like, we're not even gonna take it seriously. We're just gonna have fun. We're just gonna mess around, and that's exactly what we did, and that's what we do still most of the time. We just like mess around. We find like people who take it way too seriously and just like mess with them, and but yeah, I bought the battle pass.
see, now that's me with Apex though. Like Apex is a superior battle royale though, so that's I'm not ashamed of Apex. I've been playing a ton of Apex lately. I was literally.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll say this in a way that won't get me in trouble. I was incapacitated last night. I think it was last night, recently, and I literally carried this match, man. I was going off. So literally, we started out, someone immediately disconnected, so we were down a man. And so my guy and I was like, okay, we got this. We can do it. For a while, we were going, and we didn't really find anybody, so we were just, getting stuff going. We were getting around. I wasn't going like full aggro, but I wanted to be like, okay, I'm not gonna pussy this way out. Like I'm gonna fight. Like if there's a fight, I'm gonna do it. And so because I wanted to get a genuine win.
Yeah.
And so I walked over. We go over, and eventually I find somebody. And so like I call him out, but I don't necessarily do anything yet because I was kind of like seeing what the teammate was thinking about doing. And then he just goes and charges in and gets himself killed. And I'm like, okay, so he's one of those guys.
Yes.
So I wipe out the squad and revive him because, that's just cool boy shit. And then, what? And then we go and I wipe out another and another. And every time we wipe out a squad, we being me, I'm always doing it. He's getting knocked down.
You're going off.
So I'm carrying, right?
Yeah.
I wiped out like 3 squads. And then we get to the final one. It is a 3v2. That is it. We are there. We are the second squad left. And he, of course, gets down, and so I knock out one, and then it's a 2v1. One of them's a sniper. I'm literally juking this girl's shots, like I'm going full Neo mode, and I down the second, that stupid lifeline, and then it's just me and Wraith, the sniper Wraith. And I was like, I can hear footsteps, and I'm like, I'm down. Like, I have, like, 0, like, just a little bit of health left. I'm like, I need to heal, but I know if I take the chance to heal, she's just going to snipe me. And so I'm like, okay, what we going to do? What we going to do? And so I hear her. I go to anticipate. I've got this thing ready. I'm ready to take the shot because I was killing it with headshots.
Yes, sir.
I had the, which one was it? It's the green AR that starts with an A. It's not Alienator. It's,
I don't even remember.
I don't remember.
Forever since I played it.
But it's my baby assault rifles. I love them so much. But I was killing it with the headshots, so I knew I could do it if I just got a shot on her. Pew! Sniped me in the head. I was done. I was like, dang it! I had almost done it. I was this close. I had like 12 kills or something like that.
So good.
I carried the team so hard. I was very upset about it. So yeah, there's my long-winded Apex experience that happened the other day. But yeah, anyway, what else have you been doing, Justin?
I also watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Loved it. Extremely excited for the next episode. I actually just saw, which I mean Disney Plus doesn't have a lot, but it was like the most streamed and like its opening day like series.
It's their best performing series premiere yet.
Yeah,
Which means it beat Mandalorian and WandaVision.
Which I was honestly surprised by because I figured less people would watch this one than WandaVision just because WandaVision I thought just captured more interest with its mystery of what it was about.
Yeah. So I think it's because of that this happened. I was a little surprised, but it makes sense to me because Mandalorian was the first show on Disney Plus. So that's when this thing first launched. So they weren't going to have a lot of people anyway. Mm-hmm. And then WandaVision, that was the first MCU project. It drew in even more people. But not a lot of people because people were like, oh, it's just about that Scarlet Witch girl that one girl from Civil War. They didn't really care. But then all the buzz started happening. It went viral. Yeah. People started watching. Now WandaVision's done, and they're like, oh, wait, there's another Marvel show starting next week?
We want more. That does make sense. Yeah.
So I think that's why. Yeah, I think it's because of WandaVision that this happened. I don't think it says anything about which show is better. I think just because of the buzz that WandaVision generated, we're now here where, okay, the MCU fans are dialed into Disney Plus now. But, yeah.
Yeah, that makes plenty of sense.
But still, it's really good. It deserves it. It deserves it. It's really good.
Oh, yes, it's so good. That first episode was so good. I love getting more background of both Sam and Bucky. Just seeing them. I saw somebody tweeted, they were like, it's so weird seeing Bucky talk this much because we barely ever see him talk. So
yeah, that's true.
So, but yeah, nothing new here with this last one, but still loving Avatar. I haven't been able to watch it that much this week, but I still love it. And my girlfriend actually told me today that she wants, because she's also big in Avatar, she wants to get the comics, like the actual comics of Avatar. Mm-hmm. Yes, and she's looking at me right now going, Avatar, with a smile.
I can hear it.
But yeah, she wants to collect the comics, and I'm full on for it because I love Avatar.
Alright, bet. Yeah. So, with that, we're right above the hour. We did really well in timing this week. Congrats to us. But yeah, we're going to wrap up this episode. It's been a fun time. Next week, we're getting into April, y'all, which is nuts. We're already a quarter of the way through the year almost.
Oh,
it is absolutely nuts. It is so nuts. I haven't even installed the new versions of Adobe Creative Cloud. Like, I'm behind.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's almost April.
Get on that, man.
But yeah, so we'll talk about, what to look forward to next month in next week's episode, along with plenty of other shenanigans, I'm sure. But thank you for being here, Justin. Always a pleasure. And yeah,
always happy to be here.
Thank you guys for watching / listening / however you're consuming our melodic voices and content. But yeah, we'll see y'all next week. Adios.